Hello, Hola, Konnichiwa, Salaam, Ciao Namaste. Peace to all. This is Soulology, the science of the soul. And what we're going to talk about, sorry, real quick, to make sure something was correct. But what we're going to talk about is simply the flaw in right and wrong and the real background of his story. And we'll go through a few sections of it, but pretty much we're going to be discussing this. If you feel that this resonates with you, if you'd like to say anything, please do not hesitate because this is a conversation with all of us as one, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything that I am discussing in this conversation today. Without any further ado, right or wrong, we as a species go by right or wrong as being the end all be all of everything. What has happened 50 years ago is not accepted in today's society. What has happened 100 years ago is not accepted in 50 years ago of society, and so on and so forth. And what we don't realize is that truth constantly changes, or better yet, not truth, our perception of truth constantly changes as time progresses from what we feel is what we consider as right and wrong. But the problem with that is, it, like I say all the time, it does not work. Now, why do I always say it does not work? Why, to me, is it important when I'm always saying it does not work? Because right or wrong are ideologies of the ego, believing that it fulfills a self sustaining matter inside who you are. That I know this, so I'm correct, I'm right. I'm right about what I'm saying, and you're wrong. And that is completely what we think is it. It's not about right or wrong. It's about what works and what doesn't work for all people in society. And the reason why that is because you can be right or wrong all day. There are people who've done horrible things and they consider themselves right and had a bunch of people believe that they're right. And that is perception. But when things work and don't work, it's like a broken door. You wouldn't say to a broken door that just because it's not working that it's wrong. You would see there's an error inside the door, so you would then fix the door to make it work. There is an error in many things that we do on this planet that do not work. And we'll go over a few right now. One of the biggest, and I state this because of the fact that we have such a diluted ideology of it, is sex, coitus, sexual intercourse. why why do we why someone might be thinking, why are you bringing this up and everything like that? Well, because we have a very diluted mindset of what sex is to us. We believe in a sense that sex should only be with one person, that you really shouldn't go and have sexual conquest with other people because you'll look a certain way and people will look down on you, and so on and so forth. That is our ideology of what we consider it to be. And we believe that to be right or wrong. We also, at times, give or take the person, blend in our religious beliefs on top of why we feel sex is not good until we're married. But The problem with that is, and you have to, for those people who have belief systems of any sort, one being, if sex was meant for to be held in a certain way, in a certain manner, there would be no reason for you to have it. There'd be no reason to reproduce it. Um, what you would consider as the creator or energy or whatever you desire it to be would not be here. Well, I'm sorry. At a flick of a wrist could change the ideology of how you produce and multiply and grow on this planet. You wouldn't, there'd be no need for it. But we believe that, oh, well, for some of us, we may feel like, well, we don't want to look like the rest of the animal kingdom. I hate to tell you, the animal kingdom is no different from you because you're all a different species. And it is natural to feel sexual desires. And if we were more open about that, you would see a lot of regressions in a lot of criminal activity and a lot of frustration in both men and women. But there must be a change of that ideology. There's no right or wrong to it. This is naturally who you are. If you're aroused by someone, you're aroused because of the simple fact that it's naturally who you are. You feel that way when you see someone in real life. When you see someone beautiful or someone you feel is beautiful, period, you feel that way. So there's no right or wrong in that. On top of that, there's a difference between being cautious about who you perhaps have coitus with, and then a difference between, because I don't want to look like those so and so. Enjoy sex, but of course with caution. Why? Simply who you are with. It's a pretty simple, self-explanatory term of who you truly are. That it shouldn't be frowned upon, it should be celebrated as who you are. Now, one of the other things that we use as a way, as a means of right or wrong, is uh, especially simply our belief systems. Our belief systems consist of a lot of moral standards, the status quo on the planet, that you shouldn't do this, but you should do that. Like here's another example of that. Working for someone, working a 9 to 5. Many of us are told, go get a 9 to 5 so you can get your own money and so on and so forth. That is understandable. But the biggest issue with a 9 to 5 is it takes a lot of your time away and a lot of freedom to what you perhaps desire to do more. Now, for some people out there, you may enjoy your job, and that is great. There is nothing wrong with that. There are also many people who may not. So, for the people out there that feel that way, perhaps it might be in your best interest to find something more. But for the people out there who are, for example, entrepreneurs, especially like myself, people frown upon that. I hear too many times how people feel being an entrepreneur isn't really a job. And no, it isn't. It is your freedom, your business to grow who you truly are and who you desire to be. And a job cannot replace that feeling of freedom that you desire within who you truly are. We believe, as I was personally told when I was little, to, go to school, go to college, go to go into a corporation, climb the corporate ladder, and so on, so you have a safe job. But in today's society, the biggest issue we have for many people who might tell us that is the simple fact that we live in a different time where that isn't something that we can possibly do. So many people are trying to pay bills with money they only get weekly, bi weekly, paycheck to paycheck, when it should be much more than that, where you have enough money for later, where you don't have to worry about things. And that is one of the biggest issues. We don't allow ourselves to observe past this to think that there might be more than just working a 9 to 5. We don't observe ourselves trying to grow other ways to financially free ourselves because of the fact that we are looking for things that'll keep us safe. We we are people who are at times very much creatures of habit due to what we consider safe, especially in our world today, especially where I live. We we don't care too much to make our own self safe, but rather someone else make us safe. The safety should be in who you are. You are your own person. You should have the critical thinking necessary to actually grow and implement that within who you truly are. So, this was only one example of this, the moral standard that no, people would frown upon you just for trying to free yourself, even if you tried to talk to people around you to help in such a thing. See, and this is something that interests me a lot about people. The more people group together, the more you can allow something to grow. And this is very true when we talk about, for example, Templars. They were more wealthier than the kings of Europe at the time. When you talk about different civilizations in the world, the more you are willing to group together as one, the more effective you could be. I remember an example I was told about a group of people who were fixing up a house, and they had a large group and finished the house within 24 hours. You can build your own house in 24 hours as a group, especially with financial freedom, if you allow yourself to get past the fact of the task at hand. But what about this? What about that? I don't have this. I don't have that. What if you all worked as one and grouped together as one to help each other, balance each other, and grow to heights unimaginable? That is something that works. What, right or wrong, there for a job, is it truly right to have a job where you have to constantly make ends meet? Is it right to have a job where you are constantly struggling, trying to make sure things are put in place? Or does it not work? Think about that and tell me what you think. For the people on YouTube, tell me what you think in the description down below. So these are two of the things. The next one is pollution. We believe we have a right to put cattle wherever and cut down trees to grow more cattle to help people, to feed more people. But on the other end of the spectrum, we are telling people we don't have enough to help people out there. And this comes off as an oxymoron in a sense. You have one person telling you we need this to feed more people, and they're cutting down these trees, but at the same time, you are not helping people. Now, where does this lead into polluting? Before we get into the starvation part of this, We believe it to be okay to do what we need to do to sustain life. And yet, what we don't really realize about life is how important oxygen is to us. And this is vital. Why is it so important? Because you breathe it. It's what literally maintains you. Without oxygen, no matter how your body functions, you would not be able to survive on this planet, at least in this type of body. So, oxygen is important to you. So, the question then would be, is cutting down your trees helping you to sustain your life? We can talk all we like about cattle and everything, but the thing is, there's a solution even to that, which is just simply growing more crops. You don't need to cut down trees to grow more crops. If you can grow these crops and perhaps maybe put certain areas of gated areas for other animals to stay out so that these crops can grow and flourish. No matter what you do, these crops will then grow and you can still feed plenty of people. But we're using this because we feel we need cattle as well. This is why I tell people about the 7 day, the 14 day, or the 30 day vegan challenge of because the vegan challenge helps you one way or another build up your own energy. On top of that, the vegetation alone from these different places around the world would be a lot easier and a lot less water. But it's okay, we still cut down crops. We still cut down trees. I'm sorry. We constantly are building more cattle places for cattle. We believe this to be right. And the only reason we have not stopped is because it would, in a sense, be an inconvenience to others who especially enjoy meat. It would be an inconvenience to others who have farms. It would be an inconvenience to corporations who desire to make money just like those farmers. But you see, the funny thing about the farmers is one way or another, they could easily make money off of crops. And then the corporations, of course, are doing this because it's going to constantly make them money because of perhaps a certain niche market of what they do. It's all inconvenience because what here's another idea of this. And I've talked about this before. The whole hairspray back, I believe, in the 60s and 70s, it was polluting the air and the ozone layer. We did not stop because it was an inconvenience to others who wanted to buy the product, distributions who were delivering the product, and corporations who were selling the product. It was an inconvenience. So you had a lot of people who did not stop it until it was getting close to too late. And and we felt that that was right for us to do. And yet, what may seem right is not probably the best popular choice. And this is why seeking what works and what doesn't work is important. And we're going to go over the last one and then we'll discuss about his story. Now, when we were talking about starvation, we believe that there are several people around the world who are starving and we don't have enough to feed everybody. However, there is a flaw even in that statement alone. You can again build several crops across the world and use those crops to help people freely. The problem is there is no profit to be gained from this. And we believe that it's the right ideology that there's not enough. But here's the kicker. Not enough or scarcity is an illusion. You have enough of everything, but the biggest problem in this world is if there is no profit to be made, if no one is getting paid for these things, there is no need to give them to other people at all. So mindset must be changed. It does not work to do that because of the fact that people are being killed off due to starvation when they could be eating. The highest 1% has more than the lowest 99%. To me, that's very interesting because of the fact that we are allowing people to have more when everybody can have it. And it's all up to people. If you allow yourself to constantly be manipulated into the idea of right or wrong, to be manipulated into being choosing a side, to be manipulated in a sense of moral standards are right and wrong and stuff, then you are not critically thinking and growing who you are and being who you are. You were thinking due to someone else's ideology that has been created. Create your own create your own ideology by going within who you truly are. You have that ability. It's up to you though to create it. There is no scarcity on this planet. Only people who are not willing to make things work for everyone to have food, or simply the simple sustainable things of human life, and those who are, or at least growing to some degree to create such a thing. Now, what does this have to do with his story? Might be the next question. There was a statement that I heard not too long ago, and this is very true. The person with the most power makes up the history. Due to what has happened on this planet and who we believe is beautiful, who we believe is powerful, who we believe is smart or superior in a sense, and superiority doesn't exist. Standards of such do not exist. But due to the fact of what we believe, there are people who've already created his story. This is his own story. Ideals of what we feel should be frowned upon on the world, ideals of what should be looked up upon the world. And this story that has been written has allowed us and diluted us from true history. In all in all truth, we have no clue of our real history. We have nothing. We are told constantly what we feel history is by other people, and we don't do our own research. We're told, for example, how people like George Washington are presidents, but we do not know presidents before George Washington. We are told that we were primitive, but yet we're not even told about the most advanced versions of civilizations of who we truly are. And I'm not just talking Egypt, I'm not just talking the Aztecs, I'm not talking about the Romans or anything. I'm talking about people before that we have no clue, no information about, no history of understanding. And on top of that, not even coming close to understanding other species that are of the planet, and species that are of the planet that are both sentient in ways you could not even fathom. And this is due to the fact of ideologies of believing that there are species like that, as we call aliens, and I call universal beings, or species, of course, that exist out there. And I've stated this several times that due to what is constantly shown over and over and over again on camera, on pictures of stories, and so on and so forth, if it was a fad, it would have disappeared like that. But it hasn't. And yet we don't believe it because we deny everything that we see before us instead of taking it through observation at face value. And that is something we feel is right. and that it's wrong to believe in such things because we feel we know better. We don't know better than anything because we haven't truly observed anything. Observation is key to understanding your world fully. When we talk about scientists, they observe what is in the universe, what is in perhaps a petri dish to be able to tell you exactly how it works or whatever theories they are coming up with that work towards that. It isn't about I'm right and you're wrong. None of that exists. It's about observing and doing the research to see what is truly out there as being so. And knowing who not only your world is, the world is, I mean, the universe is, but knowing who you truly are and seeing that beauty and seeing that divinity and seeing how amazing you truly are as the gods, the goddesses, and the creators within. So, to everybody out there, I just want you to know to have a good morning, have a great afternoon, and a fantastic evening. Namaste.